Out of darkness she emerged, a figure of defiance, a name bound to the night. She is Lilith, known as the mother of demons, or perhaps humanity's first woman. Born an equal and the one who walked away from paradise rather than submit. Hers is a story buried and reshaped through time. A tale of rebellion against patriarchal forces, both divine and mortal. Today, we unravel the threads of this ancient tale, a story buried beneath centuries of myth and misunderstanding, to ask, who was Lilith truly? A demon, a goddess, or something far more powerful? To understand Lilith, we must first travel back to the dawn of civilization, to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia. It is here, in the cradle of humanity, that Lilith's story begins. Not as a woman, but as a demon of the storm. In Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, Lilith is part of the Lilitu, a group of female spirits who were feared for their power over the winds and the night. These spirits were thought to be malevolent, preying on the weak, the vulnerable, and the newborn. In this early version of her story, Lilith is not yet the rebellious first woman of the book of Isaiah, but a harbinger of destruction carried by the winds. As we move forward through history, Lilith's image begins to evolve. By the time she enters Babylonian mythology, she is more than just a spirit of the storm. She becomes a symbol of temptation associated with the night. It is here that we start to see Lilith transform into a figure of rebellion. Her name appears in ancient incantations and charms designed to ward off her dark influence. Yet even in these early myths, Lilith's power is undeniable, a creature both revered and reviled. It was not until Lilith entered the world of Abrahamic mysticism that she took on the form most familiar to us today. In the ancient Jewish texts, Lilith is no longer just a storm demon, but the first woman, created before Eve to be Adam's equal. However, unlike Eve, Lilith refused to submit. She defied the natural order, rejecting both Adam and God's authority. For this rebellion, she was cast out of Eden, left to wander in the wilderness, where she would later be transformed into a demon. This is where Lilith's role as a symbol of defiance, of rebellion against patriarchal control, begins to solidify. Looking deeper into the Jewish mysticism surrounding Lilith, she emerges as the very first woman, created from the same earth as Adam and predating Eve. The alphabet of Ben Sira, an ancient Jewish text, offers a striking version of her story. In this tale, Lilith is not born from Adam's rib, but molded from the same dust. She was meant to be his equal, but equality, it seems, was not what Adam desired. When Lilith refused to lie beneath Adam during their union, she challenged the natural order, defying the role expected of her. For this, she was cast out of Eden, choosing exile over submission. And so, she became the first woman to defy both man and God. After leaving Eden, Lilith found herself alone in the wilderness. In desperation, Adam pleaded with God to bring her back, but Lilith had already embraced her newfound freedom. She spoke the ineffable name of God, a forbidden act of immense power. And with this utterance, she gained the ability to fly away beyond the reach of Adam and the divine. This act of defiance cemented her place in Jewish mysticism as a figure of rebellion. Lilith became more than a woman. She became a symbol of resistance against submission, a dangerous and powerful force. In the Zohar and other Kabbalistic texts, Lilith's story deepens. These writings depict her as both feared and revered, a woman transformed into a demon, but also a being of immense strength. In Kabbalistic lore, Lilith's refusal to submit to Adam was seen as a rejection of the lower earthly realms in favor of the higher spiritual ones. Her exile marked the beginning of her association with the night, with the mysteries of darkness, and with forbidden knowledge. She became a queen of the night, ruling over demons and nocturnal spirits. In this form, Lilith was both beautiful and terrifying, embodying the seductive danger of rebellion. Yet, for all her power, Lilith was also seen as a dangerous force. She was believed to target the vulnerable, especially children and men. The Zohar speaks of Lilith wandering the night in search of souls to claim. As a demon, she became a figure of temptation, seduction, and death. Her association with the serpent in the Garden of Eden only heightened her role as a corrupter, a creature who sought to lure humanity away from divine order. A figure of immense power, but also of immense danger. As time passed and Lilith's legend grew darker, she evolved from a figure of rebellion into something far more sinister, the Mother of Demons. No longer just a defiant woman exiled from Eden, Lilith became associated with the night, the forbidden, and the terrifying. In Jewish folklore, she was said to give birth to countless demonic offspring, a brood that spread chaos and death in the shadows of the world. Lilith's connection to nocturnal spirits was solidified in her role as the queen of these dark entities. She was said to be the embodiment of the Lilim, spirits who haunted the night and brought with them death and misfortune. It was said that Lilith would seduce men in their dreams, draining them of their vitality. By night, she was a mistress of temptation, her beauty a deadly weapon. By day, she was a predator, hunting children, especially newborns, whom she envied for their innocence and life. Protective amulets and prayers were worn by new mothers to guard against Lilith's wrath, as she was said to steal the souls of infants in the dead of night. In the later texts, Lilith's connection to other demonic figures deepened. Among the most prominent of these associations was her link to the demon Asmodeus, one of the princes of hell. Some traditions even suggest that Lilith and Asmodeus were lovers, their union producing demonic offspring that roamed the earth. Together, they represented a balance of dark, feminine, and masculine energy, Lilith embodying seduction, rebellion, and destruction, while Asmodeus symbolized rage, lust, and chaos. The two were believed to be bound in both power and purpose, their offspring the embodiment of disorder and temptation. Asmodeus, like Lilith, was feared for his connection to forbidden lust, but Lilith was always seen as the one in control, the dark matriarch of their unholy lineage. As the mother of demons, Lilith was often compared to other demonic figures throughout different cultures. In Christian mythology, she became associated with the succubi, female demons who seduced men and drained their energy during sleep. These parallels between Lilith and the succubi reflected the fear of uncontrolled female sexuality, a theme that ran deeply in patriarchal traditions. But Lilith's power extended beyond that of a mere seductress. She was a ruler, a queen of the night, whose children roamed the earth and sowed discord. This transformation, from the rebellious first woman to the feared mother of demons, paints a complex picture of a figure who defied the rules of both heaven and earth, and in doing so, carved her own dark legacy. As the centuries passed, the figure of Lilith, once feared as a demoness and the mother of monsters, began to transform once again. This time, her story took on a new meaning, one of defiance not against God or man, but against the very structures that sought to suppress her. In modern times, Lilith has been reclaimed by feminist scholars and writers as a symbol of feminine power and independence. No longer a mere seductress or predator, Lilith is seen as the embodiment of a woman who refused to be dominated, a figure who chose her own path, no matter the cost. Her exile from Eden was not a fall, but an ascension, a break from a world that could not contain her strength. In many ways, Lilith's story is a mirror to the struggles of women throughout history. She was cast out for her refusal to submit, for her desire to be seen as equal to Adam, and for demanding control over her own body and destiny. Feminist scholars have embraced Lilith as a symbol of resistance against patriarchal structures that have long sought to diminish the autonomy of women. For these scholars, Lilith represents the refusal to accept subjugation, the rejection of a system that demands obedience. This modern reinterpretation of Lilith stands in stark contrast to the demonized figure found in earlier traditions. In ancient texts, Lilith was portrayed as a threat to societal norms, a seductress who lured men away, a child killer who preyed on the innocent. But today, those very qualities that made her a threat in patriarchal societies, her sexuality, her refusal to submit, her independence, are seen as sources of empowerment. Her role as a seductress is recast not as sinful, but as a reclamation of her own sexuality and agency. To those who venerate her today, Lilith represents the primal feminine force, the unchained, unapologetic energy that refuses to be bound by societal expectations. Her once feared nocturnal associations are now symbols of the mysterious, the powerful, and the sacred. In this light, Lilith is not just a rebel. She is a goddess, a force of nature. Her legacy as a demoness continues to exist in the annals of myth. But her story as a feminist icon has taken on a life of its own. Whether she is viewed as a symbol of empowerment or as a terrifying force depends on the lens through which she is seen. Lilith's story has captured imaginations across centuries, and as with many mythological figures, her image has evolved with each generation. One of her earliest appearances in Western literature can be found in John Milton's Paradise Lost, and while Lilith is not a central character in Milton's epic, her presence haunts the work, symbolizing rebellion and seduction. She is mentioned as Adam's first wife, and Milton weaves her legacy into the grand narrative of humanity's fall. Lilith's connection to both Adam and the serpent in the Garden of Eden made her a figure of temptation in this classic literary work. As we move into the 19th and 20th centuries, Lilith began to reappear in the works of poets, painters, and scholars who sought to reinterpret her story. In Romantic literature, Lilith was often portrayed as a tragic, misunderstood figure, someone cast out of paradise for demanding equality. In his poem Lady Lilith, Dante Gabriel Rossetti portrays her as an enchantress, a figure of fatal beauty who captivated men but remained elusive, unbound by any rules or conventions. Here, Lilith became the archetype of the femme fatale, embodying both the dangers and allure of female power. In the modern era, Lilith's presence extends far beyond literature and art. She has become a mainstay of pop culture. Television shows like Supernatural and Chilling Adventures of Sabrina have brought her myth to new audiences, portraying her as both a villain and a misunderstood anti-hero. In film and literature, her image continues to shift between a tragic, misunderstood figure and a malevolent force. Neil Gaiman's The Sandman comic series reimagines Lilith as a figure of immense power and darkness, leaning into her role as the mother of demons and the embodiment of primal, feminine energy. Meanwhile, in modern feminist literature, Lilith is often reclaimed as a symbol of empowerment. Writers like Gloria Anzaldúa and Angela Carter have invoked Lilith in their works, seeing her not as a villain, but as a figure who embodies the struggle for autonomy and the right to reject imposed roles. Lilith's enduring presence in popular culture speaks to her ability to transcend any one narrative. She is at once a symbol of rebellion, a demoness of the night, and a misunderstood heroine. Her image as a seductive, malevolent force continues to appeal to those who seek to explore the darker aspects of human nature, while her reclaiming as a feminist icon speaks to the ongoing struggle for autonomy and power in a world still shaped by patriarchy. In all her forms, whether in literature, art, or modern media, Lilith remains one of the most compelling and multifaceted figures in myth and legend. As we draw the story of Lilith to a close, we are left with a figure that defies easy categorization. From the ancient storm demon of Mesopotamian myths to the rebellious first woman in Jewish mysticism, and finally to the powerful mother of demons, Lilith has worn many faces across the ages. Each version of her story reflects the fears, desires, and cultural values of the time. She has been cast as a villain, a seductress, and a tragic figure, but also as a feminist icon and a symbol of liberation. Lilith's refusal to submit has made her both feared and revered, and her story has resonated across time as one of rebellion, independence, and raw, untamed power. For many, Lilith is a symbol of what it means to resist oppression, to carve a path in a world that demands submission. She is the woman who said no when the world expected obedience. Her exile from Eden, once seen as her fall from grace, can now be viewed as her ascension. Her choice to walk away from a paradise that demanded her silence. Her legacy invites us to question the authority imposed upon us by society and tradition. She reminds us that to walk one's own path, even when it leads into the shadows, can be an act of profound strength. Whether seen as a demon, a goddess, or humanity's true first woman, Lilith remains a figure of immense mystery and allure, and one whose story will continue to captivate us for generations to come. Thank you for joining us today. What are your thoughts on Lilith? Demon queen, feminist icon, or perhaps both? Let us know in the comments. And if you like the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore more of the forbidden worlds we unveil on this channel. Until next time, may the light guide you through the shadows of the unknown.